Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Golf Badges. My name is Sam Cooper, and along with my co-host James Bledge, we'll be talking to some of our friends from across the golfing industry. In this pilot episode, I'll be asking Bledge about his fascinating career to date, and a particularly interesting project he's working towards in July. For those of you who don't know me, I've spent the last 2 years travelling around England, Scotland and Wales in my camper van, playing every links course along the way. Normally, with Mrs. C and our 2 dogs. I've now played almost all of the 224 courses on my list. Now I'm working as a golf course architect with the firm of Clayton, DeVries Pont. If you have an interest in the design, maintenance and running of golf courses, especially in the British Isles, hopefully Golf Badges will be of interest to you. So, without further ado, this is episode 1 of Golf Badges, an interview with James Bledge. We hope you enjoy it.
Let's talk first about where the Golf Badgers name come from.
Okay, should we start with Golf Badges?
We need to give a shout out for this for Liam Brown, who may end up listening to this. I'll probably push him to, but Liam, a good friend of mine, member at Royal St George's, amongst many courses, and yeah, we all of a sudden Liam started calling someone who was really into something a badger. So it'd be like a wine badger or a car badger or a watch badger,
cricket badger.
Pretty much everything's come out. And then the golf badger one really stuck, and I started affectionately naming you a golf badger because you're right into golf, and I'm a golf badger as well. So a badger is right now renamed in the Oxford Dictionary as someone who's really into something.
Yeah,
tonight we are
obsessive.
We are Brewdog, Radiohead, and Pink Floyd badgers.
Yes, sponsored by.
Yes. Other beers are available, but my career. I started 8 years at Dumfries and Galloway Golf Club. It's where my heart is, really, to be honest. I still love the place. I've still got a lot of great friends there. Like to frequent the bar on New Year's Day still. It's great buzz about the place. And then a summer in Norway at Micklegard Golf, Robert Trent Jones, the second golf course. Creeping bent greens, moose walking about the place, beautiful rolling landscapes. And after that came back and I had quite an interesting job actually. For a winter I barcoded cardboard boxes for cat eye drops in a warehouse.
That sounds niche.
And because usually the idea of working in Norway is you earn that much money working there in the winter that you can have, so in the summer you can have the winter off.
Oh, wow.
But I wanted to kind of keep earning a little bit, and then I didn't last too long doing that. I absolutely despised it. So ended up working across, went to ɡ̓lf, worked there for a little bit, and then ended up at King's Barnes for 3 years.
Yeah.
With Innisnight, fantastic greenkeeper, and then got great experience on Dunhill Cups, first kind of proper high end golf course I've worked at, and then after that I got my first opportunity of real management, where I worked at the PGA National Sweden, which was a construction growing 2 golf courses, both Kyle Phillips again, links course, pure fescue golf course, and the Lakes course, which was a creeping bent, which went on to hold Scandinavian Masters quite a few times on Nordea. Came back from that and ended up at G West, which is the
course it never was.
The course, I know. I actually seen another picture of it today on Twitter, which breaks my heart even more. So it's Scotland's.
It's an interesting story, that one.
Best
actually.
or
Why
worst
don't
kept
we?
We could talk about.
Can we talk about that one for a minute?
Yeah, without a doubt.
I don't think many people would know about this course, G West, that you obviously spent a lot of time building, but no one really has ever played. So, what's the story there?
Well, it's an incredible shame for all the people that have put a lot of money in for it, and I guess for the guys who backed it with all the money as well. So it was Mahar Al-Tajir, the Highland Spring owner, richest man in Scotland, and decided to build a golf course for with a real estate surrounding it.
And it's just next door to Gleneagles.
It's the west of the Kings. That's why it's G West, Gleneagles West, but it wasn't affiliated. David McClay Kidd designed. I mean, the design is epic. It's unbelievable. There's not a bad hole on it. Every hole is stunning. The views are amazing. Beautiful fescue bent everywhere. Fescue roughs. I'm pretty sure it was a £5 million build, and the clubhouse was about 18 or 19 million.
And that was quite a while ago now.
Yeah, God, I'm trying to think. So I was at Royal Ports for 9 years. So this is the course will be coming up to 20 years old.
Wow.
Which is an irrigation system. Usually they say the wiring lasts about 20 years old. So the funny thing is they'll be looking to maybe renew their irrigation system, and it's not even opened yet. So the recession hit, COVID hit. They couldn't sell the housing plots for the money they wanted to sell them for. So their business model, it was actually cheaper to keep the course maintained rather than lose all that money. Because I mean, the housing plots they were looking in the start to sell between 1 and 3 million, and after all the palaver, they were probably worth, oh God, 10% of that at least.
So it was like an Archerfield style.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it was talked about Queenwood. That was the kind of without the housing. Okay. That's the standard. They were looking just a small number of members. I mean, the golf buggies we had in were made by Porsche. Garrias they were called. They were. I mean, there was no expense spared really in the construction. And the whole team, you know, Lee Strutt, Grant Frogley, Richard Jenkinson, all these guys, what an effort they put in. You know, we worked so hard, long hours for the 3 years that I was there, and the guys are still putting in a shift there, keeping it ticking over. It's so strange.
So how many guys do you think they have there now just to maintain
I think that maybe, I wouldn't be speaking out of turn because I don't know, but they must have about 8. I don't know, maybe less. I'm not sure. I know through COVID they were just keeping it cut, but as I say, you can see it from the A9 as you're driving between Dunblane or Stirling and Perth, but you'll see the building that people say it looks like a mosque.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating. You can look up G West online. You can see the website and kind of an idea of the housing that we're going to put there. I mean, you're talking multi-million pound mansions. Yeah. And it's just never happened, and it's a crying shame. And no one's ever played it. Henrik Stenson's played it, Montgomery, a couple of other folk. Yeah. And I've played it twice because I jumped the fence. Sack me now because there's nothing you can do because I'm out of there. But me and my wife, Jen, who wasn't my wife at the time, we'd went up there a few times just before I finished, jumped the deer fence and played right the way around.
So that is a claim to fame.
Yeah. I probably have a bounty out in my head for this now if this gets released. But yeah, there was no pins in or anything. So I think at one point I was the first person to complete 18 holes there because we had cups in the ground with no pins, and I played right the way around. So it's maybe you could say it's the first place I've ever had a course record, Sam.
And do you think that could be the only place you
ever?
Well, so far.
I'm not even the best golfer in my street, never mind. I'm not even the best golfer in my household. But so G West, hopefully one day it'd be. I always dreamt of going back there for the opening, you know, but it's not looking promising, to be honest with you, especially with everything that's happened recently. It's just getting worse and worse. So, but
where did you go after?
After there, I got the to Royal Ports. After that, as deputy, I was 2 years. I went down there for 2 years. That's as long as I wanted to spend because I was really looking for a course manager's job. Yeah, and after 2 years, I started applying for other jobs, and then I was lucky enough to get offered the job there because Chris Bernard moved on. Yeah. Good friend of mine, Chris Bernard, who's now at Littlestone, doing great things down there. I worked with him at Kings Barnes, and he taught me a lot about how to revet bunkers. You know, he was a great friend to me, and I really looked up to him, and still do. I spent 9 years there in total, 7 as course manager, and that really moulded me and put me in prime position to take up this job here. You know, with R&A experience, having Alistair Beggs as my agronomist there as well.
Before we get on to Hoylake, and obviously that's a particularly interesting thing to talk about, but before we do, Deal is an interesting thing to talk about because it's one of my favourite courses anywhere. The greens at Deal have got to be some of the best greens in England.
Yeah.
And there are some holes there that probably look a lot different now to how they did when you first started. I'm thinking of the 3rd and 16th in particular. It's always hard to find a really good par 5, and you've got, or had, 2 of them at Deal, 2 of the best in the country as far as I'm concerned. So how did the course change over your time, and was there anything you set out to do that you did do, or did things just evolve? Or talk me through that process.
I had a very clear plan at that place, and it actually didn't start with the course. It started with the structure inside. Okay. I knew that we would never be able to create a top world-class golf course there unless we had a world-class team, so it was the first thing we started to build. And when I look back now, and some of the years that we had there, some of the teams we had were phenomenal. You know, we had Toro Student Greenkeepers of the Year, we had guys that were leaving to go on to course manager jobs elsewhere. We were churning them out. It was brilliant because the club really looked after people. They invested heavily. They were a great club to work for. They paid well, looked after you, and it was just good fun. You know, it wasn't a stressful environment. And I still say it's the greatest club in the world. You know, I think people at Hoylake, possibly, especially my Greens chairman, probably get sick of me going on about it so much. You know, we did this at Deal, we did that at Deal. You know, it maybe gets a bit boring for them, but I feel very strongly about the place. But what we did do, and especially exactly the same as what Craig did at Hoylake and the guys at Carnoustie, creating a really good flow to the golf course is one of the first things we did between greens and tees. It was a lot of red blaze paths before, and donkey and goat tracks, you know. So we designed in a whole irrigation system where we drained water them around. My vision of where we were going to go between greens and tees and fairways, so you could essentially putt from the first tee to the 18th green right the way around the course on tight cut fast grass. We improved the playing surfaces tenfold. The only thing I didn't feel that we got a complete grip of was the sward composition in the greens, which is a great subject to talk about, and one that I'm completely open about. You know, we had a Heinz variety in the greens, you know, 57 varieties. There was fescue bent. I mean, we increased the fescue content big time. Fescue bent, poor Yorkshire fog, ryegrass. I mean, they were like old course greens, but not anywhere near as good, but we still managed to create a great surface on them. They putted, we got good speeds, and they were very smooth, and we got great results from them anytime the SDRI came down. But they didn't look great a lot of the time because of all the different types of blends of grasses we had in them.
Do you sometimes think there's a bit of snobbery in the game of would you rather have a green that performs well or a green that is technically a better sward composition? It's something that's something that plays, performs, stands up to well, something that's firm, something that is going to give you a true and consistent speed.
Yes, 100%. Always looking for performance, and I didn't want to get hung up on that. I mean, next door at Royal St George's, Paul Larson had rescued all the greens there, did a great job of creating super fine surfaces through fescue. And they're fantastic greens now, but the club went through a lot of hardship. We've got the biggest amateur golf. Well, when I say that was Deal. But then we've got the biggest amateur golf tournament in the world every April. 640 competitors. It just wasn't right for me to push the club down that rescue route and kill the greens off, because we would have lost a lot more grass in Royal St George's because we had a lot more bad grass. Yeah. So for anyone listening that doesn't understand rescue, it's a graminicide, which is essentially like a herbicide, but it kills grass. So it would kill the Yorkshire fog and the ryegrass, of which we had quite a lot of. And I just seen the smile on our golfers' faces every day, and they really enjoyed playing golf, and none of them ever said, "Oh, what's this grass or that grass, or why is that there?" They just didn't care. They just wanted fast, smooth, firm greens, and that's what we gave them. If it was my golf course and I got to shut it down for a year, yeah, totally, I would have done it. But I mean, we had 40,000 rounds a year. This tournament early in the year, final qualifying, we couldn't do it. Paul was very ballsy with that, and it worked really super well now. Especially
credit to him. I mean, now it's fabulous.
It's great. Yeah, I mean, St George's they've reaped the rewards of that, and the same at Hoylake. You know, they've Craig did it to the greens there, and now I'm reaping the rewards of that, which is the benefits.
You get the upside of that.
But he's got there's fog that's come back in there, patches of Yorkshire fog, and sadly there's nothing really now we can do with it, and it's up to me to try and work out another way, which I've got things that we can do, but it's slowly catchy monkey, I think, with that.
Well, can we just pause for a second, because one of the reasons that I was so keen to do this podcast with you is because I've spent a lot of time traveling around, playing golf courses, working in architecture and learning, but I always want to be a sponge and to learn, and I've learned so much about golf courses from you and John McLaughlin and a load of other guys in the industry. John. So John works down the road at Wallasey, which is somewhere that we are consulting, we being CDP, who I work for. But you just rattled through a load of different types of grasses there.
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of people, that will go right over their heads.
Mm-hmm.
So there are certain things you talk about rescuing to get more fescue and creeping bends and all of this kind of stuff. But talk to me just for a minute about, you're a links greenkeeper. What do you want? What's your ideal, and why is that the ideal?
Well, every links greenkeeper is different. I mean, there's a lot of links guys that just want pure fescue, but I really love the fescue blend. I feel that it's like cheese and onion. The bent's there to kind of harness the fescue and bolster it when it's maybe not performing as well as it should do. If you've got a monoculture, just say one or the other. If it's down or it's not performing well or feeling great, then your whole system's down, you know. Whereas if you've got one to back it up, and they just work well together, it's like fescue and rye in wear areas. You know, I mean, there's a lot of football pitches sow the fescue into the rye, believe it or not, which is crazy, but it fills in the blanks.
Yeah.
So I'm not a monoculture kind of guy.
But these are fine grass. These are fine things that when you put over them,
mm-hmm.
because the grass is so fine, it's not putting up much resistance.
Exactly. I mean, fescue's the finest, and then bent.
Yeah.
And then poa cut short's pretty fine. You get really fast surfaces out of poa.
But that's fine because it's half the length of.
Well, you can shave poa down as well, but it's not. It can only be fat when it's got an efflorescence on it, like a seed head.
Right.
When it seeds once a year or later on. Early on, sorry. Usually about May time, poa's brutal. But you have some of the best greens I've ever played on. Sunningdale, flawless greens, poa greens. So I'm not a grass snob. These clubs do really well, and the golfers are really happy with it. And we're using less and less fungicides.
And every club has a different budget, has a different volume of play, has a different objective. And
exactly.
That's fine,
you can't all just say, "Oh yeah, we don't want to use fungicides anymore, so let's just go to straight fescue." But it's not possible. You know, there's golf courses that just won't take it. You know, you could try and grow it till the cows come home. It's not going to happen. Yeah. Whether that be through soil type or traffic. This grass doesn't like heavy soils. It doesn't like a lot of traffic. I mean, it might be shaded golf courses that it doesn't like either. You know, so I mean, a lot of bent grasses hate the shade. So it's just sometimes you've just got to put up with what you've got, and deal with that. But I mean, what I will say is like the greens up at Royal Liverpool, what Craig's done there is just phenomenal. You know, we've got such a beautiful blend, and I'm really lucky. Every day walking them, I think he's looked great, and it's all come together really nice. And Craig had balls as well. You know, he did that, and I remember him telling me that he had a hell of a time because of I mean, you'll remember the rescue time. Yeah, it's a big setback.
So I'm lucky enough to have been a member of Hoylake. It was the first place I ever swung a golf club, so I've been there for my whole life. And agronomically, the course has changed enormously. So if you go back to the 1980s, which is before my time, but I've told reliably, I hope, that in that era, Liverpool, the whole area was not really in the best economic health, and the golf course and the golf club were no different. And all through that period of time, Hoylake, which used to be renowned for the quality of its playing surfaces, was terrible. And we then got in a guy called Derek Green, who was the course manager all the way through the 1980s, all the way up until actually 2005. And he came from Woburn, I think. So he was tasked, just to your point there of fine grasses, he was tasked when he came in with growing grass on the golf course because it was dead.
Well, he'd be poor and bent down there.
And that's what he bent. So he came through, and then when he unfortunately passed away in 2005, just the year before the Open came back to Hoylake, when Tiger Woods won in 2006 and the course was baked out. And Craig, who you've talked about, Craig Gillam, came to us from Muirfield. He was number 2 up at Muirfield. Came and then spent basically his time at Hoylake, trying to improve the agronomy of the greens and the tees and the fairways, and to great success, because it's a transformed golf course now in terms of the fine grasses that are across the sites. It's extraordinary. And then I suppose that leads on. You left Deal to come to Hoylake at the beginning of the year, was it? I can't remember now.
Yeah, 31st of January.
31st of January.
But going back to when Sean from Princes and I had, who's now Buckdale, we had a walk, and I remember walking on the first green, and it was the first green we seen.
Yeah.
And we were like, wow. And my biggest fear of taking this job over, it is failure, when you're coming from. My friend Paul Armour at Dunbar always says to me, Bledge, you'll get found out one of these days. And he's right. But when I was walking on the green, the first green, I was like, Sean, these are amazing. Like, how can you make that better? It's absolute perfection. And I'm just happy that after 9 months that I've not ballsed it up.
Not yet.
I think we'll be fine now. I think I know enough about the greens now that I'm confident enough that we can keep doing the great work that Craig started, and I'm glad about that, because you could quite easily have cocked that up.
Yeah,
definitely. It's I always said, when I'm going back to always go on about Sunningdale, because it's simply my favourite, but I always said I would never fancy the Sunningdale job, and Jamie and George do such a great job down there. No, I always said I would never take on the Sunningdale job, because I couldn't make that any better.
You can only go downhill.
It's just so good. It's just so good. Every time it's 10 out of 10 from tee to green. I adore it. But yeah, I mean...
But it's a different type of golf course, isn't it?
It is,
This is another thing, from Parkland to Heathland to Links. Do you think, having worked in different types of golf course and different types of turf over your career, do you feel that you have changed, or do you think that different golf courses need to be worked on in different ways?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, links courses, Hoylake would need to be worked on differently from Wallasey, from Southport and Ainsdale, from West Lancs, etc. They all kind of, everything's so different. What works there doesn't work here. And I was completely in that understanding when I left Royal Cinque Ports, because even though you always want to try and do the same things at your next job because they worked, you need to listen to your team. And I've had egg in my face a few times here where I've said, no guys, it'll be fine, I've done it down the road, and it's not worked. But I'm man enough to be able to turn around and say to the team, look, that didn't work, I'll hold my hands up. But yeah, definitely. But I think I'd be confident enough to have a pop at a Parkland or a Heathland. But I feel now at this age, and where I've had my kind of career progression, that I want to stay on links now. I'm quite happy on links.
Yeah,
it's good. I'm used to it, and I do thrive for tournament golf and for what we've coming up. That little medal we've got coming up next July, and I feel comfortable at that. Not too comfortable. I'm always a bit on edge, but yeah. So
let's talk about championship golf then. So at Deal, you had the British Boys. Was that the largest R&A
amateur
event?
Championship in 13?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, with Garrick Porteous won that.
Okay. Phenomenal
golfer.
Yeah.
Plays Challenge Tour now. That was great. And then we had final open qualifyings for 4 years in a row.
Yeah.
And we really pleased the RNA. You know, they loved working with us. Ewan Mordaunt was the guy who was in charge of it, and Ewan used to really enjoy coming down to Deal.
Yeah.
Because it was a stress-free environment for him, and we did everything we needed to do to make the RNA's tournament a success. And it was one of the things I was insisting.
Yeah.
You know, I'll tell you something really funny. I was watching, you know, the Open Chronicles.
Yeah.
Nick Price at Turnberry, where he held that big eagle putt in 17 and went running round the green. And I was watching it the other night, and I said to Jen, my wife, I said, Jen, I was at that, and I was behind that green, watching that, and I remember getting a little polythene bag and grabbing some of the rough and putting it in a polythene bag and sealing it and putting it at the bottom of my red, white and blue L8 bag.
Is that before or after you took a video of the hand dryer?
Aye, that's weird, isn't it? But it's, I must have been, I don't know, what age? I'm maybe 10 or 12 or something, I don't know.
Wow, so you've always been obsessed with the
Yeah,
glasses.
definitely. And I put that in my bag thinking it's like good luck, you know?
Yeah.
Because I've got like an open golf course and put it at the bottom of my bag, and now to think that I'm an open course manager is nuts.
That's crazy.
So maybe this year, after, I maybe do that again. I should do that, shouldn't I? That'd be weird.
So you've got 9 months. It's October now. It's July, so end of October, so just over 9 months. What's the? Are you looking forward to it? Are you nervous? Are you not really thinking about it just yet? And will you be sad? Do you think when it's all over?
Yeah, I'm massively looking forward to it. Not nervous about it. Sometimes I get a little tickle, but it's. I'm not in it alone. It's very important, as well as I've got a team of 12 of us.
Yeah.
And they're all fantastic, and they've all got my back. You know, they're a brilliant bunch of guys and girls, and I don't feel that stressed by it. We get a lot of work done every week. You know, we've got all the bunkers to finish. We've revetted half last year. We're revetting half this year. Putting in 2 new bunkers next week. But every week we've made our goals, and we've actually made our goals and more, which is good. And I'm quite excited about the getting everything done before Christmas. We get that done, and then January, February, bit of education, Harrogate, GIS, horrible months, January, February. We'll just be doing bits of gorse trimming and stuff, you know, top dressing, loads of sand to go out, loads and loads of sand to go out, and then we can start ramping up in March, I guess. And before we know it, you know, it'll be here. I've got the volunteer team all ready to go. We've got all the clothing ready to go. We've got their digs. You know, we're flying. And I think afterwards we'll be deflated. I think there's a lot of course managers that I know, the open courses, that say that it's the tough times afterwards. But I'm planning just bugging off somewhere. I think I'll run away
Take
for
a
a
couple
bit.
of weeks.
Yeah, I don't know if it depends, doesn't it, what the weather's like.
What have you done this year? What have been the things that you've had to prioritise and work on to get the golf course where you want it to be?
I think one of the first things I wanted to do was to kind of try and make it a bit easier for member golf. I think through feedback, a lot the rough's been very thick over the years, and it's been very difficult. So by chopping down a lot of these areas where members hit it and not the open guys, so we worked hard with it in a document with Alistair Beggs and the Greens chairman Matt Way to work out where members hit it, and we romped everything down, and it's been a bit easier this year. But to be fair, it's been a very dry year. I mean, it's been the driest year in history.
Yeah.
So rough has been non-existent this year. But that was when it was there. We just made it a little bit easier in the early summer months. We worked a lot on bunker presentation, making sure the ball returns to the bottom of the bunker by creating a bowl, so shaping the bunkers out, and presentation of the face as well. So spraying total weed killer on the face and then burning them off with a roof burner to have that kind of crisp black face. Exactly things we did at Deal. You know, I'm a one-trick pony. I just steal ideas from my last place. But and I think the biggest thing really this year again is just with the team. You know, the grass is the easy part. It's when you go to a new team, especially one that's been working with the same guy for 16 and a half years, you're totally off to a bad one to start off with. You know, it's pretty hard to to, I mean, not that I was looking to win people over, but, you know, I want to get on well with everyone, and I want us all to work well together. But it's not easy if you have a new idea that you might think can help the place, but then someone's been doing it the same way for 16 years. You're always going to come up against resistance, and I feel we're in a good place, and the team are actually very open-minded, and they're like incredibly pleasant, you know. So we've not had any resistance, you know. We've all got on well. But I think that's probably been the biggest thing, is working with the team and putting my kind of stamp on it, inside the shed, outside the shed, you know, whether that be physically the way that the maintenance facility is set out, or the way we purchase, the way we budget report, the way we educate, the way we plan, all these things, completely different, because we're all different, you know.
Yes.
Craig was incredibly old school, and he told me that himself, so he won't mind me saying that, you know. He liked to do things that way, and I'm a wee bit younger than Craig, not much younger, but a wee bit younger. I think I'm 7 years younger than Craig, but he's certainly a lot fitter than me.
Craig was young
physique
when he started, though, wasn't he? And he came from an old school, Muirfield.
Yeah, and he would have managed Hoylake like Muirfield was managed, probably. You know, and this is the way it works. And we all do things differently. We're not the same people. So, and if it was another person that got the job, then they would do things completely different. You know,
sure.
So I think it's always the most difficult thing.
Yeah. Many roads lead to Rome, don't they?
Exactly, yeah. And Ben Williams down at Royal Ports, that's taken on after me, my old deputy, who I hold up there in the highest regard.
Well, I heard Deal has never been better.
It's the best it's ever been, but it would be because Ben is he's phenomenal, you know, and he had his own ideas. He blew the board away when he had his job interview there, and he's completely deserving of that job, and he will smash it. He's the best greenkeeper on the planet.
You must take some pride from some of the guys that you've worked with. You know, Ben following on from you at Deal, Greg Easton down at Hoylake.
Greg's fantastic as well. Yeah.
Do you see that as a really important part of your job as not just as the course manager, but as the team manager of your group?
The single most important job.
Yeah.
Because being a course manager is not just about looking after the course. I got a massive kick out of developing people. You know, I'm an FTMI mentor, Future Turf Manager Initiative. I do a lot of public speaking. I get weekly emails and phone calls from people that I've mentored and helped out, asking for advice, and I love helping people out. Greg Easton at Halen is exceptional. You know, he was my deputy for a couple of years, and he was brilliant. He's gone on to smash it down there. I mean, Halen has never been as good, never. And the same as Ben Lee Company again. You know, and there's people like Keith, the mechanic at Royal Ports. Keith, he won't mind me saying this because we were quite open about this, that he just kind of plodded along in life, and then we left there. He's probably one of my single biggest achievements, actually, himself, because he is not only now a fantastic mechanic. You know, he was just an assistant greenkeeper that liked servicing his car. Now he's got his own bloody mechanic's email address and his own office, and he does everything down there. I've seen him stripping engines. I was like, never ever thought that possible. Yeah. Because he's got the motivation to do it now, and every time I go down and see him, he just gets better and better.
And the belief maybe that, you know.
Well, he's networking with like the mechanics from London Club and from Walton Heath, and he's texting them and stuff, and his life's changed. That's the thing. His life's changed. Otherwise, he would probably just have been out, cuts around today, cut greens tomorrow, you know?
So we'll get John McLaughlin on here from Wallasey, and John is just as possibly, maybe dare I say, even more passionate.
John is you know what John is?
Go on.
He's a management bæॼə.
That's a whole separate subculture that we might, we probably shouldn't pluck at. But you obviously take great stock in this, but you must have had the benefit of people mentoring you over the years. I didn't realise that Lee Strutt was at. Did you say he was at King's?
He's at no, Lee was G West. Now he's at Cabot.
And now he's at Cabot.
Yeah. He's got more letters after his name than anyone on the planet.
I know he's someone that you've talked about as being a bit of a mentor to you.
Lee is without a doubt, because he was so hard on me. He kicked my arse up and down the shed at G West and made me kind of realise maybe that I should be doing this and that to further my career. He pushed me into public speaking, and him and his wife Sammy Strutt, who's she's the CEO of bæॼə.
Oh wow, okay.
Chief Operating Officer, and the pair of them together, they're a whirlwind, and they've helped me no end. But Lee's he's just brilliant, and any time I ever kind of doubt myself or doubt something I'm doing, I go to Lee about it. He ticks a lot of boxes. We don't always agree on everything, and we can be quite honest with each other, but masses of respect for him, and he's some man. Jesus Christ, we'll get him on this 100%. I have to.
Well, I think we're coming up to an hour of whittering on, so I think that's probably a good point to stop. We've got no end of topics that we could
also
talk about.
We're going to see a Radiohead and Pink Floyd tribute band tonight in Liverpool.
That's the real reason we're calling it. We've got to go and get our train over to Liverpool.
Got to get our Dark Side of the Moon.
But look, I'd love to know if you're listening to this. There's not going to be many of you listening, but if you are, what would you like to hear from? I've been traveling the country playing stuff, and I've met so many interesting people. I'd love to get some of those guys on and share some of those stories from not just the big clubs, not just the Deals and the Hoylakes of the world, but the Dernesses and the Tries and the courses that probably most people haven't heard of, but you should do because they're brilliant. And there are greenkeepers out there who have a dozen staff or 24 staff and a budget that would probably expect great things from. But then there are also greenkeepers out there who are a one-man band, and it's just one man and his mower and a few quid, and they can still come up with something that's mind-bogglingly good. So I'm thinking it would be great to showcase the real diversity across the industry. Architects, agronomists, all of these people that we've talked about, so much goes into setting up a golf course. I think for the weekend warriors who just stand on the first tee and expect everything to be great, then realistically, how many people know just how much goes into making a golf course the place where we enjoy spending our time? So if you've got any messages or anything that you want to hear about, deeper dives on the Open, deeper dives on Bledge and his career, whatever it might be, I'd love to hear, because we're at your disposal. And it would be great to do this for a period of time to showcase some of the industry. That's my idea. And Bledge, I'm so grateful that you are willing to share your expertise and time to add some credibility to it.
No, it's an exciting little venture. I'm looking forward to discussing, following more avenues with other guys, like-minded badgers in our industry.
That's a requirement. You've got to be a golf badger to be on the podcast, and it helps if you're a golf badger to listen to us as well. So thank you very much for listening. We'll call it a night, and until next time,
Goodbye.
Goodbye.